The 1950s marked a golden age of American road trips, fueled by post-war prosperity, the expanding highway system, and a surge in car ownership. This era saw families and friends piling into automobiles, seeking adventure on the open road and experiencing the diverse landscapes of the United States firsthand. The interstate highway system, initiated by President Eisenhower in 1956, revolutionized American travel. As construction began, road trippers witnessed the gradual transformation of the nation's infrastructure, experiencing both the excitement of new, efficient routes and the nostalgia for the old, winding roads being replaced. The iconic American automobile played a central role in 1950s road trips. Cars like the Chevrolet Bel Air, Ford Thunderbird, and Cadillac Eldorado weren't just modes of transportation. They were symbols of freedom and status. Road trippers took great pride in their vehicles, often spending hours washing and polishing them before and during their journeys. Route 66, known as the Mother Road, reached its zenith in the 1950s. Stretching from Chicago to Los Angeles, it captured the imagination of road trippers, offering a vibrant tapestry of Americana. The route's diners, motels, and roadside attractions became integral to the road trip experience, shaping the cultural landscape of the journey. The rise of motor hotels, or motels, transformed overnight accommodations for road trippers. These roadside lodgings offered convenient, affordable stays, often featuring eye-catching neon signs and unique architectural designs. The proliferation of motels along highways made long-distance travel more accessible and comfortable for middle-class Americans. Roadside attractions became a hallmark of 1950s road trips. Travelers would eagerly anticipate visits to quirky sites like the world's largest ball of twine in Kansas or the Cadillac Ranch in Texas. These attractions not only provided entertainment but also boosted local economies and became ingrained in American pop culture. The concept of the family vacation gained prominence in the 1950s. Road trips offered an affordable way for families to bond and explore the country together. Parents and children alike shared the excitement of planning routes, packing the car, and embarking on adventures that would create lasting memories. Diners and drive-in restaurants flourished during this era, becoming integral to the road trip experience. These establishments offered quick, affordable meals and a glimpse into local culinary traditions. The ritual of pulling into a drive-in, ordering from a car hop, and eating in the comfort of one's vehicle became a beloved aspect of road trip culture. The national park system saw a surge in visitors during the 1950s as road trippers sought to experience America's natural wonders. Parks like Yellowstone, Yosemite, and the Grand Canyon became popular destinations, leading to improvements in park infrastructure and the implementation of conservation measures to handle the influx of tourists. Road maps and travel guides became essential tools for 1950s road trippers. Companies like Rand McNally produced detailed maps, while guidebooks offered recommendations for routes, attractions, and accommodations. Planning a road trip became a family activity, with routes carefully plotted and anticipated stops eagerly discussed. The rise of roadside billboards changed the visual landscape of American highways. While some saw them as eyesores, others viewed them as part of the road trip adventure, offering information about upcoming attractions, local businesses, and sometimes just quirky messages to break the monotony of long drives. Car games and road trip entertainment took on new importance in the 1950s. Families would engage in activities like I Spy, license plate bingo, or sing-alongs to pass the time. These shared experiences became an integral part of road trip memories, fostering family bonding and creating traditions passed down through generations. The 1950s road trip era coincided with the height of the Cold War. This geopolitical tension influenced travel in subtle ways, from civil defense signs along highways to an emphasis on exploring and appreciating American landscapes and culture as a form of patriotism. Regional differences became more apparent to road trippers as they crossed state lines. From accents and cuisine to local customs and architecture, travelers gained a first-hand appreciation for the diversity within their own country. This exposure often challenged preconceptions and broadened perspectives. The concept of the Great American Road Trip was solidified in the 1950s, thanks in part to literature and media. Books like Jack Kerouac's On the Road and films featuring road journeys captured the public imagination, romanticizing the idea of discovery through travel. Service stations evolved beyond mere gas stops, becoming oases for road trippers. Many offered free maps, clean restrooms, and automotive services. Some even featured restaurants or small museums, turning a necessary stop into an experience itself. The growth of suburbia in the 1950s influenced road trip culture. As more Americans moved to suburbs, road trips often began with a journey through sprawling residential areas before reaching open highways, changing the rhythm and expectations of the travel experience. Souvenir shops thrived during this era, offering road trippers tangible memories of their journeys. From postcards and t-shirts to more unique local crafts, these mementos became an important part of the road trip tradition, allowing travelers to bring a piece of their adventure home. The road trip boom contributed to the standardization of American culture in some ways. National hotel and restaurant chains began to emerge, offering familiar experiences across different locations. This trend provided comfort to some travelers but was lamented by others who sought more local flavor. Camping gained popularity as an affordable way to experience road trips. Many travelers would pack tents and camping gear, staying at campgrounds in national parks or private campgrounds along their route. This trend led to improvements in camping equipment and the development of more camping facilities across the country. The 1950s saw an increase in road trips focused on historical sites and national monuments. This trend reflected a growing interest in American heritage and identity in the post-war years. Visits to places like Mount Rushmore, Colonial Williamsburg, or Civil War battlefields became popular segments of many family road trips. Drive-in movie theaters reached their peak popularity in the 1950s, becoming a beloved stop for many road trippers. These outdoor cinemas offered a unique entertainment experience, allowing travelers to enjoy the latest films from the comfort of their own vehicles, often in picturesque settings. The rise of rock and roll in the 1950s provided a new soundtrack for road trips. Car radios, playing the latest hits from artists like Elvis Presley or Chuck Berry, became an integral part of the journey. Music enhanced the sense of freedom and rebellion associated with hitting the open road. Roadside produce stands and farmers markets offered road trippers a taste of local flavors. These stops not only provided fresh snacks for the journey, but also gave travelers an opportunity to interact with locals and experience regional agricultural traditions. The 1950s road trip era saw an increase in tourism-focused small towns. Communities along popular routes often developed unique attractions or events to draw travelers, from quirky museums to local festivals, helping to boost their economies and preserve their identities in the face of increasing standardization. Photography became an essential part of the road trip experience in the 1950s. The availability of affordable cameras allowed families to document their journeys extensively. These photographs, often compiled into albums or slideshows, became treasured mementos and a way to share adventures with friends and relatives. The concept of the scenic route gained prominence during this era. Many road trippers opted for slower, more picturesque roads over faster highways, valuing the journey as much as the destination. This approach to travel fostered a deeper appreciation for America's diverse landscapes and small towns, Road trips in the 1950s often highlighted the racial segregation still prevalent in many parts of the country. African American travelers faced significant challenges, relying on resources like the Green Book to find safe accommodations and restaurants. These experiences underscored the ongoing struggle for civil rights and the complexities of American society. The popularity of road trips contributed to the growth of the domestic tourism industry. States and regions began to market themselves more aggressively to travelers, developing tourism bureaus and creating iconic slogans and imagery to attract visitors. Car culture and road trips influenced fashion in the 1950s. Comfortable, casual clothing suitable for long drives became popular, and items like driving gloves, scarves, and sunglasses became fashion statements as well as practical accessories for road trippers. The road trip boom of the 1950s had significant environmental impacts. Increased car travel led to more air pollution and the development of previously untouched areas. However, it also fostered a greater appreciation for nature and scenic beauty, contributing to growing environmental awareness in the following decades. Regional cuisine became an important aspect of 1950s road trips. Travelers eagerly sought out local specialties, from New England clam chowder to Southern barbecue. This culinary tourism helped preserve regional food traditions and introduced Americans to the diverse flavors of their country. The CB, Citizens Band Radio, though not yet widely used by civilians, began to appear in some vehicles during the late 1950s. This technology hinted at the future of road trip communication, where travelers could share information about road conditions, attractions, and potential hazards. Roadside vernacular architecture flourished during the 1950s road trip era. Buildings shaped like giant animals, food items, or other eye-catching forms were constructed to attract travelers' attention. These whimsical structures became landmarks in their own right and symbols of American kitsch. The concept of the road trip romance entered popular culture in the 1950s. Films and literature often portrayed chance meetings and whirlwind romances sparked by highway encounters, adding an element of excitement and possibility to the road trip mythos. As air travel became more accessible in the 1950s, road trips took on a new significance. They were seen as a more intimate, flexible way to travel, allowing for spontaneous detours and a closer connection to the landscape. This perception helped cement the road trip's place in American culture, even as other travel options expanded. The rapid expansion of highways and the road trip culture began to change the nature of many small towns. Some communities thrived with the influx of travelers, while others, bypassed by new highways, faced economic challenges. This transformation of rural America became a subject of both celebration and concern. Road trips played a role in the growing youth culture of the 1950s. For many young people, a road trip represented freedom, independence, and a rite of passage. This association would strengthen in the following decades, with the road trip becoming a symbol of youth rebellion and self-discovery. The 1950s saw the beginnings of RV, recreational vehicle, culture. Though not yet as elaborate as modern motorhomes, early RVs offered a glimpse of future trends in road travel, combining transportation and lodging in one vehicle. This development expanded the possibilities for long-term and retirement road trips. The road trip boom influenced popular music, with numerous songs celebrating car culture and the open road. These tunes not only provided a soundtrack for travelers but also helped romanticize the road trip experience in the popular imagination, ensuring its enduring place in American culture. As we reflect on the 1950s American road trip, we see a phenomenon that was both a product of its time and a shaper of future trends. The convergence of economic prosperity, technological advancement, and cultural shifts created a unique moment in which the road trip became more than just a mode of travel. It became a quintessential American experience. The era's road trips reflected the optimism and contradictions of 1950s America, offering freedom and adventure while also revealing the nation's social and racial divisions. The legacy of the 1950s road trip continues to influence American culture and travel habits today. While much has changed, from the vehicles we drive to the ways we navigate and communicate, the fundamental allure of the open road remains. The era's impact can be seen in our highways, our pop culture, and our enduring love for road-based adventures. As we look back on this golden age of road trips, we're reminded of a time when the journey was truly as important as the destination, a principle that still resonates with many travelers today.